bhaja bhaja bhai Chaitanya Nitai Shudrida Ishasha Kori Bhaja bhaja bhai
Chaitanya Nitai Shudrida Ishasha Kori
Bhaja bhaja bhai Chaitanya Nitai Shudrida Ishasha Kori
Bhaja bhaja bhai Chaitanya Nitai
Shudrida Ishasha Kori Vishaya Chariya She Roshe Majiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Vishaya Chariya
Rose Majiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari
Vishaya Chariya She Roshe Majiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari
Vishaya Chariya Rose Majiya
Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Padama Koruna Pohudui Janitai Gaura Chandra
Parama Koruna Pohudui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra
Dekho Ore Dekho Ore Bhai Shri Bhubane Nai Yamana Doyala Data Dekho Ore Bhai
Tribhuvane Nai Yamana Dayala Data
Dekho Ore Bhai Shri Bhubane Nai Yamana Doyala Data
Dekhayo re bhai Tribhuvane Nai Yamana Dayala Data
Pashupaki Jude Pashana Vedare Shunijara Gunagata Pashupaki Jude
Pasana Vedare
Shunijara
Gunagata
Pashupaki Jude Pashana Vedare Shunijara Gunagata
Pashupaki Jure Pasana Vedare Shunijara Gunagata
Padama Koruna Pohudui Jananitai Gaura Chandra
Parama Koruna Pohudui Jana
Nitai
Gaura Chandra
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Rama
Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Puribrajagacharya Ashtatara Sadasha Samachala Abhay Charanarabhina Bhakti Vedanta Shami Shira Prabhupada Ki iskcon Pratisthata Acharya Shri Prabhupada Ki Ananta Gauri Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Shri Shinitai Gaur Shitanata Pramanande. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jutaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tang Shajivam Shadvaitam Savadutam Parijanashaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Param Sahagana Lalita Shibishakang Vitangscha Antara Guru Ajotashiko Guru Gon Tacharane Age Korea Bandhan Panchakalpa Trubhyashcha Kripashan Beba Chapoditanam Pavaneba Vaishnaveba Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanavari Prashtata Deshatarine. We're reading from Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur's Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, 7th chapter, Adi Khanda. Jai 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 Maheshwar Gauda Chandra Jai Jai Vishwambar Priya Bhakta Brindo. We can see in the opening statement, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, he displays such the mood of the Vaishnava. He's Jai Jai Maheshwar Gauchandra is glorifying the Lord, and Jai Jai Vishwambar Priya Bhakta Brinda. Those who are Vishwambar Priya, in other words, those whose dear heart, whose heart is Vishwambara, those whose their dearmost is Vishwambara. Jai Jai, all glories to them. So at this time, where Nimai, he's in Navadip and he's very mischievous, and Pita Mata Kahare Na Kore Prabhu Bhoy Visvarupa Agraja Dekile Namra Hoy. His Pita Mata, Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata, they gave up the effort of trying to instruct Vishwambara, because Prabhu na kore Prabhu bhai, he wasn't afraid. Na kore Prabhu bhai, he wasn't afraid of them, and they couldn't, like parents do, they threaten and they scare the child, and by that, well, he just wouldn't take any concern about what they said. So they stopped trying to instruct him. But Visvarup Agraja Dekile Namrahoi, Nimai was very much humble and soft in the presence of Visvarup. Visvarup Dekile Namrahoi. He became very humble. In other words, Visvarup had a great influence on the consciousness of Sachinandan. And now, Vrindavandas Thakur we just have to reflect on what we're hearing. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, he explains that Krishna Lila Bhagavate Kohe Bed Vyas. The Krishna Lila is described by Vyasadev Bhagavate in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Lila Vyas Vrindavan Das, and the same Vyas Muni, he's appeared in Navadip Dham. He lived in Mamgachi, Vyas Muni. Just shortly after the departure of Sri Sachinandan Gaudhari, we hear in the Srivas Angane, in the courtyard of Srivas Thakur, one time Sachinandan, he bestowed his mercy on the mother of Vrindavandas Thakur, Narayani, and at that time she was only 4 years old. So when she grew up and gave birth to Vrindavandas Thakur, then that was already Mahaprabhu's pastimes had come to an end. But Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj, because he's a disciple of Lord Nityananda, Vrindavandas Thakur, a disciple of Lord Nityananda, and through the mercy of Lord Nityananda, everything was revealed to him in his heart. And Krishna Das Kaviraj goes to, just as Vyas Muni is the compiler of Srimad Bhagavatam, so Vrindavandas Thakur, he's compiled Chaitanya Bhagavat. It's the Bhagavatam of Chaitanya Lila. And the same Vyas Muni has compiled it. So he's describing everything, actually the authorized. Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami explains the authorized describer, autobiographer of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and particularly in Navadip Dham. So everything we know, well, mostly our understanding of the pastimes in Navadip and Mahaprabhu's activities are revealed by Srila Vrindavandas Thakur. And at one time he actually explains that Monodiye Shuno Bhai Sri Chaitanya Kotar, Monodiye, with attention, Shuno Bhai, listen brother, Sri Chaitanya Kotar, the descriptions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhakti Shange Jai Jai Lila Koilo Jota Jota, because Jota Jota, as it is, Bhakti Shange, with his devotees, Jai Jai Lila Koilo, all of the pastimes that he performed, one after another, Jai Jai Lila Koilo, Jota Jota, as it is. Monodiye Shunobai Sri Chaitanya Kota. He listened very attentively to Vrindavandas Thakur's description because he's describing it as it happened. So therefore, just by hearing attentively Vrindavandas Thakur's poetry, we can actually see the Navadip Nitya Lila. Gaurangir Gunete Jure Nitya Lila Taresh Pure. Nitya Lila Taresh Pure. The eternal pastimes of the Lord can manifest in the heart of Gaurangir Gunete Jure, the person who cries when he considers the qualities of Gauranga. So now Srila Vrindavandas Thakur, he's describing the character of Visvarupa. He's just been introduced the key role that he is playing in the pastimes of the Lord Visvarupa. Visvarupa Nimai, he ignored the instructions of his mother and father, but he was very, very respectful to Visvarupa. So he's playing a very important role. And now Vrindavandas Thakur is going to describe his character. Prabhu Agraja Visvarupa Bhagwan Ajanma Birokta Sharbaguner Nidhan. Prabhu Agraja, the Lord's elder brother, Visvarupa Bhagwan. He's the Supreme Lord. Vrindavandas Thakur will explain later specifically. Non-different body than Lord Nityananda's. Vishwaranda Swarup Abed Sharir. Non-different body than Lord Nityananda's. So he's Visvarupa Bhagwan. And Ajanma Bidokta means that he's detached, birokta. He's detached from birth. He wasn't at all interested in material sense enjoyment from birth. Ajanma birokta, sarvagune nidhan. And he is the treasure house, nidhan. The treasure house of sarvagun, all good qualities. Sarvagune nidhan. Shrabane, bodhane, mone, shabendriya gone, Krishna bhakti bine arna bole na shune. Shrabane, with his hearing, bodhane, means his speech, bodhane, mone, his mind, shabendriya gone, with all of his senses. We're actually beginning a lesson, as Upadesh in Bhagavad Bhakti, how to perform Krishna Bhakti, from the example of Visvarupa, that Sravana, bodhane, mone, hearing, speaking, thinking, shabendriya gone, with all of his senses. Just like in Mayapur, we're very fortunate because just by being in Mayapur, or paying obeisances, or touching the Gaur Mandal Bhumi, we are with our senses serving the Lord, because it's non-different from the Lord. So savendriya gone, all of our senses can easily, just by being in the Dham, because by being present in the Dham, you're serving the Lord. So you're serving the Lord with all of your senses, just by being in the Dham. Savendriya gone. Krishna bhakti bine arna bolena shune. Apart from devotional service to Krishna, he didn't hear anything, he didn't speak anything. Nirabhadhi take sharva vaishnaver shange, Krishna kotha, Krishna bhakti, Krishna puja ronge. Nirabhadhi all the time, take vaishnaver shange. He didn't associate with anybody apart from Vaishnavas. And Krishna Kotha, discussing, talking, Krishna Bhakti, serving, loving Krishna, Krishna Puja, worshipping the Lord. Range, in this way he enjoyed his life. He would rise early in the morning and take Ganga Snan, and then he would come to the puja room, and the Mishra, Jagannath Mishra, there were Brahmins. He was worshipping the deities in the house, Shalagam Shila. So he spent all his time in the deity room, or if he wasn't doing that, take prasad and take Ganga Snan, those things, and then the rest of the time he would be in Advaita Shabai, where all the Vaishnavas every day. And now, after describing the character of Visvarupa, that he's completely absorbed in Bhagavad Bhakti, he spends all his time in the home of Advaita Acharya with the Vaishnavas, puja and seva, Krishna Bhakti, and Krishna Kotha, discussing Krishna, worshipping Krishna, and loving Krishna in the association of the devotees in Srila Advaita Acharya's assembly. And now he's describing how his attitude towards Vishwambar. It's very detailed, actually. His attitude is described now. How he's thinking about Vishwambar. Jota amanushi karma nirabadi kore ei bhuji khelena Krishna ei shishu sharire. Visvarupa, we just heard that he's Bhagawan, he's the Lord, but he doesn't act in such a way. He doesn't know that Vishwambar is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's thinking he's his little brother. And Jagannath Mishra, he doesn't know that, he doesn't think that. even in a dream one time. And a fulgent Brahman appeared to Jagannath Mishra after he gave Nimai some chastisement, and he said, your Mishra, your chastisement, it's useless. It's not required at all. Your son he's the repository of all divine knowledge. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you're chastising him is completely inappropriate. And Jagannath Mishra replied, Mishra kohe Deb Shidi Muni Keni Noi. Deb Shidi Muni Keni Noi. He can be a great Muni, a Shidhi, a perfected being, or even the Lord himself. Jai She Bodahok Matra Amatanoi. No matter how great he is, as far as I'm concerned, Amar Tanai, he's my son. So, Visvarupa is not thinking that he's God, he's thinking he's Yada. But he has this, Buji, seeing all the amanushi karma, nirabade kodi, that he performs. Like, for example, he appeared in front of the Brahmin and ate the rice 3 times. And when he went, he's called by Jagannath Mishra to bring the book, and he comes and he can hear the ankle bells. I mean, Visvarupa was there when all of this was happening, even though it's not mentioned, but he's the older brother, he's there, he's seeing these things, the footprints around the house. And the mystical activities when Sachinandan is disturbing the baths of all the Brahmins and the respectable residents of Navadip, and they all go and complain, the Brahmanair, Shammelon, and they all gather and describe all the different things. And in Visvarupa, he appears on a different path, looking like he'd never been to take bath at all. And Jagannath Mishra, he's wondering, how is this possible, that this mystical child? Visvarupa is also seeing this. Putra darshanane guchilo bichar, shneha punno hoilo duha kehu kichu ar. He'd just forget completely when Nimai would come down the path from the Ganga. Putra darshanande guchilo bichar. He just forgot completely about all of what the Brahmins said and how could they say that, and he didn't go to the Ganga. Putra darshanande, seeing sneha punno hoilo, and duha akichin. They became completely absorbed in affection. They're so affectionate, so much affection they had for Nimai. So seeing all of these amazing, extraordinary activities, Visvarupa, Buji, Kelena, Krishna Shishu Sharire. I think that Krishna is playing through this Shishu Sharire, through this child's body. I think Krishna is playing. However, motto Chinte Visvarupa Mahashai Kahare na Bange Totta Shwakarma Korai. Mote Chinte Visvarupa Mahashai. He's thinking like that. Mote Chinte. Isn't this fascinating? He's describing the illusion that he's in. Mote Chinte. I think Krishna is playing in the child's body. It's like a new... But he's Nityananda, he's Lord Balaram, but he's playing like this. He completely becomes forgetful that he's Balaram. Otherwise, how could he play? How could he respond? How could he not think that Sachinandan is Supreme Lord? How could he not think that? He has to get out of the idea that he's God. He becomes completely absorbed in the role of Visvarupa. Mota Chinto Visvarupa, he's thinking, maybe this boy, the Krishna is playing in his form. Kaharena, but he didn't speak it. Kaharena, kaharena, bange tattvas, because bange tattva, what does that mean? Actually, he did bange tattva. He didn't want to break the secret. He didn't want to bange tattva. He didn't want to disclose the secret. Swakarma karai, and then he carried on with his own activity. Now, this is very interesting. That if he's what we're going to discuss today is Visvarupa Sannyasa. So if he's thinking that Nimai is the Supreme Lord, then why would he leave home and take sannyas? And even if he knows, because he's Balaram, then why would he do that? Obviously he's playing Leela. Why would he take sannyas to search out the Lord if the Lord's living in his home? You just stay at home. So his sannyas is special. There's a reason for it. Visvarupa comes to why. We can consider that this evening. Why he takes sannyas. What role does that have in the pastimes? Why he serves the Lord in that way. So he was just expecting that, but he didn't say that to anybody. And now Vrindavandas Thakur describes Visvarup's his attitude towards people in general. His attitude towards people in general. Jagat Pramata Dan Putra Bidda Roshe. Jagat Pramata, those who are mad in the material world. Jagat Pramata means people in the material world who are mad with Dan Putra Bidda Rosh. Dan, money, Putra, family, Bidda, learning. Well, that's interesting. I mean, nowadays people are not in the Vidya Rosh. Studying books, studying Vyakaran. They're not in Vidya Rosh. They're in whatever. At best, they entertainment, music, movies, some sports. Apart from their Dan and Putra, their family and their money. Apart from that, they're in recreation and sports. But Vidya Rosh, just see the aristocratic samaj in which Sri Sachinandan appears to perform his pastimes. It's not just some ordinary bunch of people. Their Maya is learning. Brahmins of Navadip, Vidya Rosh. But they're described as Jagat Pramata. They're materially bewildered. But in Navadip, the materially bewildered people are absorbed in Vidya Rosh. Study Sanskrit and debate and logic and grammar and poetry. What an elevated society. And when Dvijamani, the jewel, Dvijamani, the jewel of the twice born, he comes and he becomes the Navadip Chandra, the moon of all the Brahmins of Navadip. And he's so much attractive to them because of his learning. But in order to appreciate that, first we need to understand the society in which Sri Sachinandan is appearing and performing his lila. But these people, Jagat Pramata Dan Putra Vidya Roshe, who were absorbed in these things, Vidya and family and learning and Jagat Pramata, they, Vaishnav Dekhile, when they saw Vaishnavas, Matra Shobe Ubahashe, they would laugh. And then actually, Vrindavandas Thakur explains that they would compose poetry. They would compose poetry, insulting the Vaishnavas. I mean, now what do people do? They throw rocks at you and yell at you, spit at you. In Navadip, in order to be critical, that they would compose verses insulting them. The Brahmins would compose verses insulting the Vaishnavas. You drench yourself with tears of spiritual emotions, but your poverty and misery is not alleviated, etc. We could read those poems of the Jagat Pramata, the bewildered Brahmins of Navadip. Could read the way that they describe the Vaishnavas. So a motto, Bole Krishna Bhakti Shunna Jon. A motto. Like this. Bole Krishna Bhakti Shunna. Krishna Bhakti Shunna. Those who have no devotion for Krishna. Krishna Bhakti Shunna Jon. A motto Bole. They would speak like this. Shuni Mahadukha Pai Bhagavat Gan. And when the devotees, Bhagavat Gan, when they would hear these Jagat Pramata, these bewildered Brahmins of Navadip, insulting them, Dukha Pai. They would be unhappy. They felt great sorrow. Dukha Boro Pai Visvarupa Bhagavan Na Shune Abhishta Krishna Chandra Akhyan. Dukha Boro Pai Visvarupa Bhagavan. Now, all the Bhagavat Gan, they're all feeling unhappy the way that the common people were behaving, but Dukha Boro Pai Visvarupa Bhagavan. Visvarupa, for him it was very painful. Dukkha Boropai Visvarupa. Why was it very painful? Not that because he just didn't like them, because they were material, they were Jagat Pramata. No, because na shune abhishta Krishna Chandra Akhyan. Krishna Chandra Akhyan. The descriptions of Krishna Chandra. Na shune, not hearing that in their association. And that Krishna Charan is his abhishto. Abhishto. You know, abhishto means his desire. Is Krishna Chandra Akhyan. Descriptions of Krishna Chandra. Nashuni abhishta Krishna Chandra. Abhishta, his desired. Just like we pray, Sri Chaitanya Mano Abhishtam Shtapitam Janabhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam. Sri Chaitanya Mano Abhishtam, the desire of Sri Chaitanya. Stapitam Janabhutale, who knew what that was and was able to establish that in this world by his literature, Srila Rupa Goswami. So Abhishta, the desire. So Nashuni Abhishta Krishna Chandra Akhyan, his desired glorification. You could say his desired hearing the glorification, or even you can say that the glorification of his desired Lord. In either case, Boropai, Boro Dukkha, Boropai, Dukkha Boropai Visvarupa Bhagavan. Gita Bhagavat, J.J. John Ba Parai, Gita Bhagavat, the Gita and Bhagavatam, J.J. John Ba Parai, those who study and read and teach, Parai, they teach. Yeah. Krishna Bhakti Bhakya, Korana Aishe Jibai, Korana Aishe Jibai, on their tongue, Krishna Bhakti Bhakya. Descriptions of Krishna Bhakti, na ashay jibai, do not appear on their tongue. So therefore, dukhe, in great unhappiness, dukhe, Visvarupa Prabhu, mani mani gone. Mani mani gone means he's saying in his mind. Just like we do that sometimes. So gan, like Gita gan means a song, to sing. So mani mani gone, he's saying it again and again in his mind. Mani na dekhi bo lok mukha chale jai bon. That's so beautiful, man. I'll read that again. Dukhi Visvarupa Prabhu mani mani gone, na dekhi bo lok mukha chale jai bone. Na dekibo lok muk, the faces of those people who are not glorifying Abhishta Krishna Charan, who are not glorifying my worshipable Lord. Na dekibo lok mukhe, I don't want to see their faces. I don't want to see their faces because it's so painful for me, right? Chole boro, chole jai bone. I'm going to the forest. So that was his attitude to the people in general. So that's the person that Visvarupa is described. Ushakale, Visvarupa Kori Ganga Shnan. Ushakale in the morning. Kori Visvarupa Ganga Shnan. Takes his bath in Ma Ganga early in the morning. Advaita Shabai Ashi Hoy Upashtan. Advaita Shabai, where Advaita Acharya and all of the Vaishnavas have assembled. Ashi Hoy Upashtan. He comes there and he presents himself. Upashtan. He remains there. Advaita Shabai Ashi Hoy Upashtan. He goes and presents himself in the association of the Advaita Shabai. So it's interesting that we can understand that Srila Advaita Acharya is the senior most Vaishnava in the amongst the Shomelan, the Vaishnava Shobha, the society of Vaishnavas in Navadip. Srila Advaita Thakur, he is the senior most, and everybody assembles at his house. And now Vrindavandas Thakur, because he has the Advaita Shabhai, and this is the Navadip society of Mahaprabhu's associates. Gauranga Shangi Gone, Nitta Siddha Korimone. Srila Narottam Das Thakur explains they're all eternal associates. Advaita Thakur, Shivash Thakur, Gadadhar Pandit, Nityananda Prabhu. In any case, Nityananda Prabhu, he's not in Navadip now. But Shivash Thakur and Advaita Thakur, they are the two great Vaishnavas. And when this is also can be seen when we were discussing on the GBC SPT, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita celebration program, when the Vaishnavas, Gauda Hoite Vaishnava Ashaya Chindui Shotta, Mahaprabhu Bhakti Shab, Mahabhagavata, all devotees of Mahaprabhu, 200 of them had arrived on the banks of the Narendra Sarovar in Jagannath Puri. So Gopinathacharya and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Prataparuja Maharaj on the roof, they are watching. And Gopinathacharya, he's describing one after, he begins by describing Advaita Acharya and Shivash Thakur. First Sarutamada and Govinda, they come with garlands and prasad of Lord Jagannath, and they offer them to Advaita Acharya. So he's the senior Vaishnav in the associate in the Navadip Vaishnava Samaj. Now this person, when Visvarupa would arrive, having taken his Ganga Snan and worshipped the deity at home, he would go to Advaita Shavai. When Advaita Thakur would see Visvarupa, it describes, Vrindavandas Thakur describes, Puja Chari, Visvarupa Dori Kore Khale. Puja Chari, he would stop worshipping the deity. He would be in the middle of worshipping the deity, he would stop that. Visvarupa Dori Kore Khale, and he would embrace Visvarupa. Anande Vaishnav Shab Hari Hari Bole. Anande Vaishnav Shab Hari Hari Bole. When Advaita Thakur would stop doing the puja and would get up and embrace Visvarupa, Anande Vaishnav Shab Hari Hari Bole. In great bliss, all of the Vaishnavas would chant Hari Hari. What a group of Vaishnavas to associate with. And so soft-hearted. He would stop doing the puja and embrace Visvarupa. Sharva Shastre Vyakhen Krishna Bhakti Shar Shunya Advaita Shuke Koren Hunkar. Sharva Shastre Vyakhen Krishna Bhakti Shar. He would discuss that devotional service is the essence of all Shastras. And Sarva Shastre Bhakya means he quoting from all the various Shastras. Sarva Shastre Bhakya, Krishna Bhakti Shar. He would establish the conclusion of Krishna Bhakti. That is the essence. Sarva Shastre, Krishna Bhakti. Shunya. And when Advaita Thakur would hear Visvarupa's description of Sarva Shastra, how Krishna Bhakti is the essence of all Shastras, when Advaita Thakur would hear that, Shunya Advaita Shuke Koren Hunkar. In great happiness, Koren Hunkar, he would yell out, right? He would make loud noise. Hunkar, loudly he would yell out in great happiness when he would hear Visvarupa discuss that Krishna Bhakti is the essence of all the Shastras. So this is the daily activities in Navadip. With Visvarupa, Advaita Thakur, all the Vaishnavas are there. Visvarupa would come, Advaita Thakur would stop doing puja, stand up, embrace him to his chest. All the devotees would go, Hari Hari. And then Visvarupa would discuss Krishna Bhakti and quote all different Shastras, and Advaita Thakur would yell loudly in such happiness. So one day, or every day actually, Sachimata would finish the cooking, and then she would send Visvarupa, or she would send Vishwambar to bring him back for lunch. So now Vrindavandas Thakur, he describes that form. That this is these pastimes. These pastimes are the Adikhanda, which Srila Vrindavandas Thakur explains in 19 chapters. Adikhanda, 19 chapters. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he summarizes in 4 chapters in the Adi Lila, chapters 13 to 17. And each chapter is describing a 5-year period. And he divides the Navadip pastimes into 4 periods: Balya, Pauganda, Joban, Kishore. 5-year periods. So this period is the Balya, the 1 to 5. After this starts Vidyalila. So Srila Vrindavandas Thakur, actually Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 13, Adi Lila, he says that E mote nana chole ashajadek ai balabhab prakatiyo paschat lukai. E mote nana bhave, in different ways, in the balbhab, at the time when he's a child, prakatiyo, he manifests his Aishajya as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nana chole Aishajya dekai, balbhab prakatiyo. It particularly, just like he's a balbhab, means he's like a little, that's an infant. Balbhab prakatiyo. So he, in his innocence, he just displays his opulence. Like, when he's on the shoulders of the 2 thieves, he's enjoying that, and he doesn't mind. And they think they're taking him to their home to steal the ornaments, and then they bring him down and place him in front of Jagannath Mishra. Right? So sometimes he just doesn't care. He just shows his opulence. And the ankle bells, Jagannath Mishra calls him, bring the book. And he comes and hear the ankle bells, because he's not covering it. He's just like a little child, just like an effervescent of his supremacy. Sometimes it spills over. Balbhab prakatiyo. In his childhood times, it manifests. Paschat lukai. But Paschat, after that, lukai, he keeps it within. When he's in the Vidyalila, he doesn't do that. But in the Bal Lila, it spills over, like on the Ganga. And he's saying to them, I'm Lord Narayan, meditate on me. He's eating the offerings. He doesn't care, because he's like, it's later when he becomes older, and in Vidyalila, he's more, you could say, responsible. Not like a little child. So this is the description, that form. Even he just walks around, he bewilders all the Vaishnavas. When they see this form, they become bewildered just by seeing this form. Right? Balbhab prakatiyo, because it manifests in his childhood pastimes. Prati ange nirupam labanya shima. Prati ange, each limb, prati ange. Nirupam, the such beauty. Labanya shimha, that it defies the extremities of delicate beauty. Labanya shimha, the furthest extremities of delicate beauty. Every limb, prati ange, nirupam, is so beautifully formed. Koti chandranahe ek naker upam. Ek naker upama, that the effulgence of one of his fingernails, koti chandranahi ek, the radiance of millions and millions of moons doesn't compare to the effulgence of one of his fingernails. And he's just covered in dust and a little string around his waist with a bell. And he's calling Visvarupa. Visvarup's significantly older. He's going to take sannyasa, so he's at least in his teens, and Nima is less than 5, so he's 12 or 13. He's a lot older, his big brother. He's holding him by the dhoti. Bhochane Aishe Bhai, Dakiye Janani, Agraja Bashantore Chalaya Apani. Bhochane Ashe, come to eat. Bhochane Ashe Bhai, Dakiye Janani, mother is calling you to come to eat. Agraja Bashantore, he's holding his dhoti. He goes into the assembly, all the Vaishnavas, he's holding his dhoti. Maybe they're standing up. He's holding his dhoti. Bhochane Ashe Bhai, Dakane Janani. Right? He doesn't know much, he's just got to give that message. Deki She Mohan Rup Sharva Bhaktagan. Deki She Mohan Rup Sharva Bhaktagan. When all the devotees, Deki She Mohan Rup, they saw that bewildering form. Shtagita hoy shabe kore nirokon shtagito. That means stunned. Right? Stunned. Shtagito. Shtagito. Hoya shabe kore nirokon. And they just became, you could say, unable to move. Shtagito. Just seeing that form. Shamadhi pray. Hoe che bhaktagane. Shamadhi pray. Almost shamadhi. Right? The high level of complete absorption reached by the Mahabhagavata, Mahabhajogis, Samadhi Pray, Hoeche. They're almost in that Samadhi stage. Seeing that Mohan Rup, bewildering form, the enchanting form, Mohan Rup. Samadhi Pray, Hoeche Bhaktagane, Krishna Kotan Karuna Aishay Bodhane. Krishna Kotan Aishay. Na Karu Aishay Bodhane. No one could even speak about Krishna anymore. They were so, just seeing the form. We're hearing that in different ways, different groups of devotees. These people, these devotees in the house of Advaita Thakur, they're not ordinary devotees who've just come there. They're coming to play that lila. They're doing Sankirtan with Advaita Thakur and discussing Krishna Bhakti with Visvarupa in Advaita Bhavan. These are not ordinary people. So, Gauranga Shongi Gone Nitta Shidha Kori Mone. They're Nitta Shidha. And they've come just to do that. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Anyway, I mean, some even just come for some brief association. Maybe they're the flower garland guy or the Brahmins and the milk. There's that incident when a little later Mahaprabhu was going through Navadip and they're saying, hey, like you came before to my home, come and take rice. But that's all we hear of those people. But they're also not ordinary. That's enough. A few moments of seva to the Lord. They're meditating on Him the whole life. Like Prabhupada described Kolavecha Shidha. And I want to get sitting on the, here in Shivashangan, Mahaprabhu is sitting on the Singhasan of Shivash Thakur. And he's saying, I want to give you benediction. I want to give you boon. Ask something. I mean, a very, very merciful, you ask something. And I'll make you the Lord of the universe. I'll give you 8 mystic cities. Just think about it. Bhakta Brinda. You could have the 8 mystic cities. Would you not be interested? I'd have to think about that for a while. 8 mystic cities. That'd be pretty interesting. And Mahaprabhu said, you want them? And he says, I won't even ask for that. You know, we'd probably say, well, can I have a few things? I'll take the mystic city thing and also perpetual bhakti to you. How's that? But that's because he's pure devotee. He doesn't care about anything, Ananda Bhakta. Doesn't care about anything else. So, and Mahaprabhu says, so what do you want? I just want to be the banana seller. Why? Because I can think about you. Because I can see you at least once a day. Right? I can see you at least once a day. Just give me that life after life. So these devotees, they come just for this moment. Just because Vrindavandas Thakur can explain their reaction to his form. And in that way we can appreciate how divine his form is. Because these bhaktas who've given up everything and every day they assemble and they do sadhan bhakti and they do Krishna discussions and hearing, they couldn't even speak about Krishna. So just imagine that form. And Vrindavandas Thakur, he explains it's like how in Brajabhumi, because Shri Narottam Das Thakur Mahashai, he sings that Brajendra Nandana Jai Shachi Shuta Hoilo Shay. Shachi Shuta, the darling of Sachimata, Shay Brajendra Nandan. He's the darling of the king of Braj. Balarama hoilo nitai. So, just as the cowherd residents of Vrindavan, the cowherd ladies and the cowherd men, they were more attracted to Krishna than their own children. And the calves, when Krishna expanded as the calves, they were more attracted to him than their own calves. He's explaining that in terms of these Navadeep Basis, and when they became Shtagito and Shamadhi Prai, and they became completely overwhelmed seeing the beautiful form. So he's using that to describe it. So it's interesting. We can understand something about it. But now particularly Srila Vrindavan Thakur, he'll describe Advaita Thakur's attitude and perception of Vishwambhar. And it's very extraordinary. Mani Mani Chintai Advaita Mahashai Prakrita Manush Kobo A Balak Nai. Prakrita Manush. When Advaita Thakur, he's seeing all of this. He's there. And he's seeing Nimai come and hold the dhoti, and Janani Dake, Bojan Aishe, come for lunch. And he's seeing all the devotees just looking at that form, become speechless. So Advaita Thakur, he says that Prakrita Manush Prabhu E Baloknai, this boy is not material. This boy is not material. Now that's interesting, because that same Advaita Thakur, he's the person who prayed Tulasi Dalamatrena Jalasha Chulu Kalenava Bikranetam Sham Atmanam Bhaktebhyo Bhaktavachala. When he read in the Gautam Tantra that just a little bit of Tulasi Dala, one Tulasi leaf, Jalasha Chulu Kalenava, and the amount of Ganga jal you can keep in your chuluka, your palm, Bikranetam Sam Atmanam. If you offer that to the Lord with devotion, he becomes so satisfied that he sells himself to you. He gives himself to you in return. Bhaktebhyo Bhaktavatsala. Because he's so dear to a devotee. So, hearing this, he sat in Shantipur on the bank of Mahagonga, and he worshipped the Lord with Ganga Jal and Tulasi leaves, his Shalagram Shila. And he prayed that he's Mahavishnu, but he prayed that you appear, because only you who are Putit Pabon, the savior of the most fallen, you can come to bestow this prema, Braja prema. You have to personally come to bestow Braja prema through Nam Sankirtan in Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga Nam Rupe Krishna Avatar Nam Hoite Hoy Shabbajagat Nishtar Kali Yuga, yeah. Namane Pracha Toti Lage Pita Bona Chaitanya Avatar, for the purpose of establishing Toti Lage, the name which gives Braja Prem. So he prayed, Advaita Thakur prayed for that Lord to personally come, and he's there, he's in the next door neighbor, Sri Bhajangan and Advaita Baban, but he doesn't know that boy is the Supreme Lord who I prayed for, but he's thinking, Mani Mani Chintai Advaita Mahashai. He's thinking, just imagine what's going on in the mind of Advaita Thakur. Well, here Vrindavan Thakur is revealing it to us. Mani Mani Chintai Advaita Mahashaya. He's thinking, Prakrita Manush Ta'ai Baloknoi. This boy is not material. But he's not, it's like he's on the edge. It's like on the edge. Chintaya Advaita Chitte Deki Bishwambar, and Deki Bishwambar, when he would see Bishwambar, then Chintaya Advaita Chitte, in his heart, he would be thinking, Mor Chitta Hare Shishu Parama Shundur. Mor Chitta Hare Shishu Parama Shundur. This Shishu, who is Parama Shundur, extremely beautiful, Mor Chitta Hare, steals my heart. Mor Chitta Harite, Ki Pare Anna John. Mor Chitta Harite, to steal my heart. Ki Pare, who can do that? Anna John, apart from my Prabhu. Eba Moha Prabhu Mohe Mon. This is bewildering me. I think is my Prabhu. Who else can steal away my heart in that way? So, just at that moment that Sachinandan is taking Visvarupa back for lunch, just at that moment when he's holding the dhoti, and maybe he's pulling the dhoti, but then when they're walking, he's behind and he's holding on to Visvarupa's dhoti. Visvarupa will be going. So as he's going, and Advaita Thakur, he's seeing this whole incident, he comes. Sarvabhuta Hriday Thakur Vishambhar, because he's Sarvabhuta Hriday Thakur. He stays in the heart of all living beings. Sarvabhuta Hriday Thakur Vishambhar, he's in the heart of all beings. Chintite Advaita Jata Chole Jai Ghor. Just at the time he was going to his home, at that time Advaita Thakur would be thinking like this. So this is a very interesting description that Srila Vrindavan Thakur is making. That there is a gradual revelation of the Bhagavata, of the divinity of Sri Sachinandan, Gauranga, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Navadip Dham. He gradually reveals it. It becomes a climax. And here we can see the beginning of the relationships where they're thinking, both Visvarupa is thinking, Advaita Thakur, he's thinking, but no one is speaking. Visvarupa could see these divine pastimes, but he's not speaking it. The Brahmin who saw Sachinandan reveal his form and he said, you can't tell anyone this. So they're not, although these opulent occasions, these divine occasions, they manifest, as we mentioned before, and Visvarupa would see those, but still there's no public recognition that he's the Supreme Lord. And even Mahaprabhu, he goes through the whole Vidyalila period in this way. But still everybody, they're all eternal associates. They're not randomly there, on the bus. You got a ticket, 5 rupees. It's not like Navadip. It's their whole village. Everyone is thinking of Nimai when he's at the toll of Gangadas Pandit. And not tomorrow, but the next evening we'll hear about Nimai going to school, beginning his studies with Gangadas Pandit. So everybody was absorbed in him. Everything he did was extraordinary. Dvijamani, the jewel of the Brahmin society, Navadip Chandra, the moon of Navadip, he absorbed everybody's mind. Just like he's here absorbing the mind in such a very extraordinary way of the most exalted Vaishnava in Navadip. The great sannyasis, great acharyas, and they become so absorbed in a child. So this way, Vrindavan Thakur, he's describing the environment. They don't know he's God. And he's doing his Vidya Leela, but all the Vaishnavas are in love with him. But they're so much frustrated because he's not doing Sankirtan, Krishna Bhakti, and Shravanam and Kirtanam with them. He's just doing the Vidya Leela. And they prostrated themselves at the bank of Ma Ganga and prayed, "Oh Ma Ganga, doyamoy puti paboni, please make Nimai a devotee and make him become completely absorbed. And so we can associate with him." And because now we're not allowed to, it's like, it's not appropriate. Even he makes fun of us. But we want, if he became a Vaishnava, and he becomes. When Sri Ram, the younger brother of Srivas Thakur, he hears that Nimai's come back from Navadip, and he says, "Parama Adbhut Kotar, Parama Ashambhab, Shino Bhai, Parama Adbhut Kotar." The most amazing thing, Parama Ashambhab, the impossible has happened. Nimai Pandit Hoilo Parama Vaishnav. Unbelievable. Nimai Pandit Hoilo Parama Vaishnav. He's changed completely. So then the devotees, their hearts are so much full of joy, and they're doing Sankirtan with Nimai. And then after a year, after some time, not in the beginning, he reveals himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's a whole nother experience. And when he here in Srivashangan in front of Srivas Thakur's temple, and Srivas Thakur is doing puja, and Sachinandan's kicking on the door. "Kaha puja koho, kaha dhyan, jaha puja, kocho deko bidhaman." Who you're worshipping, who you're meditating on. Jaha puja kocho deko bidhaman. The person you're worshipping, look, I am present here. Shankar Chakra Pada Gadma, what was that? Chaturabhuj. Deki Boshiachin Birashane Vishwambar Shankar Chakra Gadapadma Dhar, and his forearm formed. And then he says, he chastises Srivas Thakur, Otadin Najane Amar Prakash. Why he didn't recognize me for so many days? Why you didn't recognize me? Well, he was covering himself. So Advaita Thakur, he's thinking, I think this boy is my Prabhu, right? But it's not, no one's speaking it, only till later. But all the time they're thinking about it, all the time they're desiring it. Why is he saying that? Because maybe this is true. Why else would he say that? Because this is my heart's desire. If this could be my Prabhu. So they're all desiring. They're all in love with him. Na bhoy সংসার সুখ বিশ্বরূপ মনে নিরবারে থাকে Krishna ananda kirtane. So he wasn't interested in, Visvarupa wasn't interested in ordinary life. Nirabare take Krishna ananda kirtane. Krishna ananda kirtane, all the time in ananda of Krishna kirtan. It means he's talking about Krishna all the time, or doing kirtan, or associating with the Vaishnavas. Griha oilo griha byabaha na kore nirabare take Vishnu grihe bitore. He wouldn't do the household activities. He would nirabare take Vishnu grihe bitore, in the room of Lord Vishnu, in the deity room. So he's becoming quite a youth now, Vishwambar. Perhaps he's 17 or 18 years old, or even younger probably. But Shachi Mata and Jagannath Mishra, they begin to discuss his marriage. They begin to, now is the time. Bibaher udjoga koraho pita mata. Koraho pita mata, father and mother, bibaher udjog, the time of marriage. They're thinking about koraho, they're beginning to arrange. So they began talking about it. So shune, just hearing that, because they're living together in a little cottage, and everything that there's just some grass walls. It's not big, thick. There's just grass walls in the hut. So they're talking Visvarupa and just how intimate they are as a family. They grew up like that. Everything that Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata said, Visvarupa and Nimai can hear. I mean, amazing. So, Shune Visvarup Boromone Paya Byata. Wow. Shune, when Visvarup heard that Bibaha Udyog, about his marriage, they're talking, Visvarup Boromone Paya Byata. He had great pain. Byata means pain. Pain. Boromone Paya. Boro, big pain in his mind. I guess. We won't go into discussing that, but I mean, that is a real sannyasi, that is a real brahmachari. Just the idea of marriage because great pain in the mind. Wow. So I'm going to leave. He's thinking, I'm going to leave. Ishara chitta brite, Ishara she jane. We don't know why he's thinking, we don't know why he does this. Take sannyas. It's very painful for the Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata, Visvarup sannyas. You know, when Mahaprabhu took sannyas, we discussed that the other night in the GBC, SPT. Mahaprabhu took sannyas and he just left. And Nityananda tricked him. We'll take him to Shantipur, brought all the devotees to Shantipur. And when Sachimata came, and she sees Nimai pays obeisances, and the first thing she says, do not do like Visvarupa, and who never gave me audience again. I can't do that, I can't tolerate that. So therefore Mahaprabhu stayed in Jagannath Puri. So it was very painful. Visvarupa sannyas was very painful. We'll hear it. Ishvara chitte britte ishvara she jane. The Lord knows. his heart. He knows why he does what he does. Visvarup sannyas koryala koto dine. So he took sannyas. He left. He left. Jagat Viditanam Sri Shankararanya. Famous throughout the universe. Sri Shankara, he accepted the name. And it became famous throughout the universe, right? Which means Jagat Viditanam means a universally famous name. So maybe Sri Shankararanya, maybe Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement will be further preached so that the whole universe knows about the Navadip Leela and Visvarup and his sannyas name. And this Leela, this pastime of Visvarup taking sannyas, the Jagat, the whole universe will get to know about this, but we have to reveal, we have to preach Krishna consciousness and reveal Goloketa Prem Dhan, Harinam Shankirtan to the people that the riches of the spiritual world are available in the Nam Shankirtan movement. And then they'll hear about Sankararanya. He'll become Jagade Vidita, famous throughout the universe. Cholila Anantapote Vaishnav Graganna. He's the best of the Vaishnav. Vaishnav Graganna. Cholila Anantapote. Cholila, he went on the Anantapote, on the path of eternal life. That's the sannyas at Visvarupa. Like Mahaprabhu's sannyas. He jumps in the Maganga, he's thinking he's floating to Shantipur. He's got nothing. It's not that if he left his phone on Gamsha on the bank with his friend. He's got no key. He's got nothing. That's sannyas. It's just completely nothing. Krishna will provide. And he wanders through South India. You can't even do that now. In the modern times, the police would arrest you for vagrancy. I don't think you can wander. Iskcon, okay, with wind, we can go from Iskcon to Iskcon. Within Mayapur you could do, but that's the Anantapot. That's the Anantapot. Therefore not possible for the ordinary. In Iskcon, sannyasis, they don't actually do that. I mean, they do for preaching, but it's not like they go and you never hear of them again. Everything is facility, institute. The sannyasis, they help the institute, and the institute helps the sannyasis. That's the iskcon. The sannyasis help the institute because they're emblems of Brahminical culture and renunciation. They're great inspiration. And the institute helps the sannyasis. Without iskcon, it'd be tough for a sannyasi. But in iskcon, they can get full facility for preaching. But this Anantapot, ultimately, that's the mission of the Lord, Anantapot. But Visvarup sannyas was like, never heard anything of him again. It just completely a real social death. No messages, nothing, not even hear of him. So therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he lived in Puri. Because there was regular coming and going. Every year the Vaishnavas from Navadip would go to Jagannath Puri. And in this way, and 2 or 3 occasions Mahaprabhu came to Bengal after taking sannyas. So Sachimata. Now the effect that had on the devotees was just Goshti Shaha, Krandan, Koraya, Ubhar, the family, Goshti Shaha, all of the family, Krandan, Koraya, Ubhar, they cried incessantly. Baire Biraha, Murcha Gelo Godorai, and Baire Birahe, separation from his brother. Baire Bihare, separation from his brother. Murcha Gelo Godorai, separation from his brother made him unconscious. Murcha Gelo Godorai. He fell unconscious when he heard about Visvarup sannyas. Godorai. She bidaha barnite badane nahi pari. I cannot speak about that feelings of separation. She bidahe barnite, to describe it. Badane nahi pari. I do not have words. Badane, I'm unable to describe that, the feelings of the family members in response to Visvarup's sannyas. Hoila Krandan Mai Jagannatha Puri, and the Jagannath Puri means the home of Jagannath Mishra, was just a Krandan Mai. It was full of tears, incessant tears and wailing. Visvarup Shannash Dekiya Bhaktagan. Advaita Acharya, all the devotees. Visvarup Shannash Dekiya Bhaktagan, Advaita Shabai Bahu Koile Krandan. Advaita Shabai, Korile Korandan, they all cried. Headed by Advaita Adi, headed by Advaita Acharya. Advaita Adi, Shobe, Bahu Korile Korandan. Beginning with Advaita Acharya, or mostly by Advaita Acharya. Shobe Bahu Korile Korandan, they cried so much. Visvarupa Sannyas. All of Nadia, Uttam, Madhyam, Jai Shunila, Nodiyai, Heno Nahi, Jai Shunya, Dukha Nahi Pai. No one who heard this, and everybody, whether they're Uttam, Madhyam, big or medium, Jai Shunya, Nodiyai, all through Nadia. Jai Shunya, Dukha Nahi Pai. Everyone felt, there was no one who didn't feel unhappy and feel pain about this in all of Nadia. Jagannath Sachir, Bidirna Hoy Bhuk, the pain in their chests of Jagannath and Sachimata. Nirantar Dake, Visvarup, Visvarup. Nirantar Dake. Endlessly they're calling out, Visvarup, Visvarup. They're crying and calling out, Visvarup, Visvarup. Endlessly. And Vrindavandas Thakur, he has no words to describe this. That's not it. That's just the words. That's just his non-description of it. Imagine, just think of this. He says, I don't have the words to describe it. But he just speaks those things. They're constantly calling out, Niranta Dake, Visvarup, Visvarup. But all the people, all the neighbors of Jagannath Mishra, they're trying to counsel him. And they said that Goshti Purush Jar Koraya Shanash. Goshti Purush, in the family line, Jar Koraya Shanyas, if someone takes sannyas, Tri Koti Kuler Hoy Shri Boykunta Bash. Tri Koti Kuler. That three Koti means 30 million. Tri Koti. 30 million of your ancestors. Hoy Shri Boykunta Bas. If you take sannyas. 30 million of your ancestors attain Vaikuntha if a person takes sannyas. But that didn't even mitigate Jagannath Mishra's pain. Dilen Krishna Shay Putra Nilen Krishna Shay. Jagannath Mishra, he's explaining how he's thinking. Dilen Krishna Shay Putra. That son was given by Krishna. Nilen Krishna Shay, and that same Krishna, he took my son. Jai Krishna Chandra Icha, Hoyibe Shay Shay. Jai Krishna Chandra Icha, Hoyibe. Whatever the Lord desires, that will happen. So this is how a devotee deals with such extraordinary calamities in one's life. Krishna Icha. He says, it's Krishna Chandra Icha. Hoibe Shay Shay. Krishna Chandra Icha. Hoibe Shay Shay. Just by hearing, by absorbing our minds. In the Gaur Modhu Lila, we can become Krishna conscious. We can learn how to actually respond to situations in life. We can say, Krishna Chandra Icha. Hoibe Shay Shay. And in that way we'll be able to connect ourselves through the parampara of the great acharyas and the way they connect us to the Lord. Jai Jai Leela Koilo Jota Jota. The way the Leelas happened, here they are described. So that's what he said. That's what Jagannath Mishra said. A Rupe Jnana Jogi Mishra Mahadir. Mahadir, a very deep Mishra. Jagannath Mishra. Mahadir is a great deep thinker. A Mote Jnana Yogi. Jnana Yogi. That's Jnana Yogi. He says, Vrindavandas Thakur describes that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, that Vrindavandas Thakur, he said that Krishna gives, Krishna takes away. And he calls that Jnana Yoga. He says, understanding that is Jnana Yoga. Krishna gives, Krishna takes away. So a bhakta who thinks that Krishna gives, Krishna takes away, he's a jnani, jnanavan. He's a jnani. Because that's called Jnana Yoga. A rupe, in this way, Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga. Mishra Mahadir, the greatly composed Jagannath Mishra. Alpa alpa chitti britte korilen shtir. Chitta vritti means the fluctuations of the heart, the desires, the eruptions of desire. Chitta vritti, korilen shtir. He was able to tolerate those. He was able to steady himself. Korilen shtir. He was able to steady his heart and remove the chitta vritti, the fluctuation of desire, by jnana yoga, by understanding that Krishna gave and Krishna took away. So this is how you tolerate, this is how the mind can make you create so much suffering in the mind. That Krishna gives, Krishna takes away. And this way, by gyan, you can control your mind, control your heart. Chitta vritti, the desires, the fluctuatings of the desire. Henomote Visvarup hoilo bahir. This is the description of Visvarup leaving home. Nityananda Swaruper Abed Sharir. Nityananda Swaruper Abed Sharir. He's non-different from Lord Nityananda. Nityananda Abed. No. Nityananda Swaruper Abed Sharir. We don't take questions? No questions? Huh? I don't know, maybe I'll just go to 7 and finish. Unless, no, I'll just go, I'll carry on and finish. Yeah. No, maybe we'll take questions, yeah. We've got 8 minutes. We can take a couple of questions if anyone has questions.
Any questions, please? Yeah. Any questions? Kono prashna?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
No?
Here. Yes.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, you said about preaching all over the universe regarding the Visvarups. Will you give little more thoughts, like what is like coming to your mind? That's like little unusual. I never heard before. Like,
well, that's what we were just saying. That Sankaranya, Sri Shankaranya, he was Jagat Vidit. His name was Nam Jagat Vidita. Was known all over the universe. So we were saying that if the Sankirtan movement spread all over the universe, then these pastimes will be known all over the universe. But what I'll describe now, I'll take a few more minutes and we won't take more questions. I'll describe something. I'll finish off something here. This is interesting. Okay, so after Visvarupa took sannyas, Nimai, he became very good boy. Very good boy. And he would study and very diligently, because he wanted to help, he wanted to appease Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata from their pain. So he was very ideal child and studying. Dekiya apurva buddhi shobe prashangshe. And seeing his apurva buddhi, his unprecedented intelligence, because he could study and he was just so ideal. Shabai bale dhanna pita mata heno bangshe. Dhanna pita mata, you're so fortunate to have such a child. This dynasty has become so fortunate to have such a child. So everyone was elated hearing, you can imagine the child, everyone's so intelligent, everybody says that. So all the family were happy except Jagannath Mishra. When he would hear people glorify how intelligent is Nimai, he became very morose. And he explained that Sarva Shastra Marma Jani Visvarup Dhir. There's all of the scriptures, Marma Jani, when the essence of all those was known to Visvarup Dhir, Anit Shangsha Hoite Hoilo Bahir, he lost interest in material life. So Jagannath Mishra is beginning to think that if Nimai becomes very educated, he'll also lose interest in material life. Eho, Jodi, Eho means this one. Eho, right? He's talking about Sachinanda and he's standing there. He's saying, Visvarup, he learned all the Shastras. He became so learned, he understood there's no happiness in material life. He became a sannyasi. He's pointing to Nimai. Eho, Jodi, Sarva Shastra Hoibe Jnanavan. If he becomes Sarva Shastra Hoibe Jnanavan, learned in all the Shastras, Chadiya Shankshar Shok Korebe Payan, he will also take the same path. he will also take the same path. Right? So Jagannath Mishra said, therefore, he will no longer study. He will no longer study. He can just stay at home. I'll look after whatever he requires, but he's not going to learn any more. Sachimata, she argued that how will he be able to maintain his life if he's illiterate, and how will we get him married if he can't even read and write? Right? You're saying stay at home, no more study. He's a Brahmin. How are we going to even get him married? And Abodha Bipra Shuta, you are the ignorant daughter of a Brahmin, unintelligent daughter of a Brahmin. Abodha Bipra Shuta, he calls her. And he says, look at these Brahmins over here, that they're all starving, and there's people that can't even write their names, can't sign their names. And hundreds of pundits are lined up at their doors for some alms. What is the use of learning? If Krishna desires, you'll get everything. Padiya nahika karya baliluntomar. I've said to you now, Padiya nahika karya, no more studies for you. Murka hoy putra mor rahu matragore. But I'm going to keep, even if he's a fool, I'm going to keep my child in my home. Jai tomar ichha bap, tai dibo ami. Jai tomar ichha bap. Oh child, oh my child, Jai tomar ichha, whatever you desire, tai dibo ami, I will give you. Grihe basho parama mongale tako tumi. You stay at home in parama mongale, in comfort. So Nimai, he very respectfully observed the orders of his father, and he remained home, and he no longer went to schools for study. And what happens after that, we'll discuss what happens after that, the incidents that follow this. We'll discuss when I am speaking here, in not tomorrow evening, but the evening after. Is there time for a question? Okay, yeah, question.
Hare.
Hare.
Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for narrating beautifully the God Leela.
Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu.
Yeah.
My question is, we heard that Nityananda being the expansion of Lord Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Aditya Acharya is the incarnation. So what's the technical difference or similarity in calling the incarnation, expansion, partial expansion?
Oh, in 1 minute. Yes, you can read that actually. Sanatana Shikha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya-lila, chapter 24, 25, Sanatana Shikha. You can read all the different Tad Ekatma, Vaibhav, Vilas, Rup, all the different ones, how all the different expansions, Chatur, Narayan, and all those. You can read it there. I can't remember. But we know that Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, and Balaram is the Swayam Prakash, his first manifestation. Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. Balaram is his first Swayam Prakash. And Brajendra Nandan Jai, Shachi Shuta Hoilo Shay, that Krishna, he became the Gaur. He's the same person, but he's a Brahmin family, and he's going to do Vidya Leela and be Shachinand and Gaudhari. And Balarama Hoilo Nitai, Nityananda Prabhu, he's Lord Balaram, so that's who they are.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Okay, so thank you all very much. Just to conclude...
A small question.
Question? Well, our next event is ready. They should begin on time.
Yeah, 1 minute. Please.
Huh?
He has not come still.
Not come yet, okay.
As you said that Grihastha Sannyasa ashram is very easy in iskcon.
I didn't say
So
that.
what is your message for the community devotees as Grihasthas?
I didn't say that. I didn't say. I never. You go through what? Or you go through my complete what I spoke. I never said that.
No, you are saying that
I
it's
said
like
sannyasis
all
are
facilitation
facilitated.
has been given.
Yes, the sannyasis are facilitated in ISKCON.
So how the community devotees has to
Oh,
take
well, they have to facilitate, yeah. I mean, it's not generally, it's the culture. In ISKCON, it's not just that's all. When I say ISKCON, I don't mean just that management. I mean the society of devotees. It's ISKCON, International Society. So the grihastas, yeah, should that is the life of the grihasta. If they can serve a sannyasi, then that's why we need sannyasis, so we can serve them. And that's the natural interaction in the social platform. And that's the most convenient, most conducive for Krishna consciousness. So yeah, we should facilitate sannyasis. I mean, ISKCON, everyone is facilitated. There's so much Aishwarya Punna, so much wealth in ISKCON for preaching. And the sannyasis are the preaching leaders of the preaching. If you can serve a sannyasi, then you're directly preaching. Jai. Let's, I'll conclude with this comment by Srila Vrindavan Thakur. Jai Shuniye Visvarupa Prabhu Sannyas. Those who hear Visvarupa Sannyas, description, Jai Shuniye Visvarupa Prabhu Sannyas, Krishna Bhakti Hoy Tar, Chinde Karma Pash. So Krishna Bhakti Hoy Tar, they get devotion to Krishna, and all of their karma is destroyed. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shamabeta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Ananta Kori Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Vrindavan Thakur ki jai, Shishi Nitai Gaur Sitanand Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. No, you can do kirtan.